Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio. This is your home for organic, fresh, artisanal Bible study that's made just for you. It's Fair Trade Bible Study. And today we're looking at Psalm 46, verses 8 and 9. Now, let me just review where we've been. Verses 1 through 3, we have that opening statement, which is repeated in this psalm 3 times. First in verse 1, then in verse 7, then again in verse 11. God is our refuge. Now, it changes in 7. The God of Jacob is our refuge, so it gets a little more specific. And then in 11, we have the God of Jacob is our refuge. So in 7 and 11, we have the same thing said, but it begins this way. God is our refuge and strength. That was verses 1 through 3. Let me go on here in verse 4 and 5. There is a river. When we talked about this new Jerusalem that's coming. So this is prophetic. We're looking forward to that time when, there's going to be a place for all the saints. They're going to be living there in that new place. And then we have verses 6 and 7. We come back down from the New Jerusalem, and we're on the earth, and we hear the heathen raging. We're reminded of Psalm 2. But yet, we end with the Lord of hosts is with us. So even though the world and the mountains and the sea and all that is roiled, even though the heathen are raging, in the midst of all that, God is our refuge. And now in verse 8, we have this invitation. Come. Behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. So we're asked to come. This is the invitation. So now our psalmist becomes our herald. He is preparing us to be introduced to the great king, because in verse 10, the great king is going to speak. We're going to have the first person, I will, I am, I will be exalted. So we're going to have that. We want to be ready for that. So the herald says, come and see, behold the works of the Lord. And what are his works? What are these desolations that he makes in all the earth? Well, it says he makes the wars to cease. And that's good, isn't it? I mean, we don't want more wars. We want less wars, and he's going to make all of them to come to an end. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear in pieces. So not only do wars stop, but the very instruments of war are destroyed. He burns the chariot with fire. So the bow, the spear, the chariot, every instrument of war is consumed in his desolations. He does this work to bring peace, because this is his plan. His plan is for there to be peace on the earth. And there one day will be. And so the psalmist is calling us to come, observe this, see this. This is an invitation to every single one. Look at this. This is the works of God. What are the desolations that he has made in the earth? Well, let me tell you what they are. They are, he makes wars to cease, he breaks the bow, he cuts the spear, he burns the chariot in the fire. Those are his desolations. Now, a lot of people would say, well, the God of the Old Testament is a God of wrath, and there's so many wars, and he's executing things on people. No, the God of the Old Testament is a God of mercy. He's a God of love and covenant. And this just shows us that side of him, that covenantal, merciful side is being exhibited right here. He's going to do this work. He's going to bring it all to pass. And also, this fits really nicely into what we had there in verse 4, that prophetic piece about the New Jerusalem. It's going to come a day when the New Jerusalem is going to come down out of heaven. All the wars are going to be done. God is going to bring peace to this world where there has never been peace. Man can never negotiate peace, but God, he will bring it. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. We'll look at verses 10 and 11 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.